I'm Jason Klom, and this is Comedy on Vinyl. Okay. Backup is also recording. Okay. The year is 1974. The album is called That Gentleman's Crazy. That's what I'm going to call it. The artist is Richard Pryor. My guest this week is Tarik Davis. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't you tell me first where you heard this album? Because I'm guessing, I don't know, was this something that was passed down at all? Because, you obviously weren't around when it came out, so.
Yeah, no, I heard this album in my living room in maybe the late 80s, mid to late 80s. Mm-hmm. I have an older brother. Mm-hmm. Well, I have parents, and it was their album.
Yeah.
And they had prior albums, and, I grew up in my context. My brother, I have an older brother who's 8 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And so when Eddie Murphy's Delirious came out, my brother, especially then he resembled Eddie Murphy a little bit. He even went to school in the red leather outfit and was the coolest guy for that day.
Yes. Oh my God.
So it was something that it was played in my house, that Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. And I had a close, big family. Uncles would come over and they'd listen to comedy. I'd be a little kid, and I grew up in a household where I wasn't shielded from a lot of stuff. Uh-huh. Because that's how my family spoke when they were home. So It's not like it'd be, hypocritical for them to try to shoo me away. Mm-hmm. But I also didn't have access to the albums. I couldn't play them. So I had to wait unless my brother was babysitting me or my dad and my mom would go downstairs. They go in our basement and listen to music and listen to comedy albums. And I go, they think I'd be in bed, and I'd sneak up to the foot of the steps and I'd listen. And I heard Richard Pryor doing a wino talking to Dracula. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. This is gold.
I don't know how I've never heard a track off of this album before, though. That's what's blowing my mind.
I'm sorry?
I've never heard a track off of this album before today.
Yeah. It's one of those that can get lost in the mix. Mm-hmm. For someone who's so prolific, it's Sunset Strip is usually that's the album a lot of people acquired, or Richard. But mm-hmm. I don't know. Listening to this, I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
And I was giving it a little bit of a listen, in preparation of this, and I'm just it's such an interesting time period, mm-hmm. and it's such an interesting. I feel like we're seeing Pryor on he's teetering into becoming the Pryor that we all know.
Sure, yeah.
But I also remember, watching old clips of Pryor, on Ed Sullivan or something like that, where he was very much patterning himself after the comic who will not be named.
Sure.
And this is the way he comes into that, San Francisco club and I hope I'm funny.
Such a good opening.
Such a great opening, but it's masterful in how he controls the room mm-hmm. with an aggressiveness and a humility. And it's mm-hmm. Yeah, this is someone who's been cutting their teeth. They've been working, but it's also there's a young Pryor energy in there too. So anyway,
no, I mean it's not a way you hear an album especially with the kind of reaction the audience gives him, which is it's always just so they just so much. I mean, we'll get to it. Also, there's a point where somebody literally interrupts the set in such a positive way. But this is an opening track, and how often does a comic make mentions about burning to death, or not burning to death, as the case may be, being poor? It's just within the first, you just get such a sense of exactly who he is and who he's going to be in one track.
Yeah,
such a friggin' storyteller and a character guy.
Such a storyteller, and there's no, I don't know. Yeah, he's not trying to put on airs, of any kind. It's let me tell you how I was a loser in high school and mm-hmm. girls weren't messing with me. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And the audience is with him 100%. He's never trying to be cooler than them. He's just trying to be honest, and there's a beauty in that.
And that never changes. That's one thing that doesn't ever change. Like he will still, I think, acknowledge who he was as a younger man. When he gets richer and he gets bigger, it's still like, yeah, but I was this poor kid whose mother was who she was and who went through all this horrific shit. And I am poor, but you still get to see where he comes from in a way that he doesn't have to. No comic has to do that, but he never denies who he is.
No, he doesn't. There's also some like some anti, military complex war stuff in there. Like, it's I don't know. As I get older, and I guess as we get further away from that period, I was born in the tail end of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Do not remember the 70s. I remember the 80s and the 90s very well.
Sure.
But, that was my parents' time. And so I have an affection for that time period that I wasn't a part of.
Yeah.
And hearing, the anti-war sentiment before beginning telling a joke.
Right. I love that. There's just so much truth. This is only his fourth record.
I think so.
And to be, I'm now realizing I don't think I've ever heard his first record, and I don't know that his record act is much different. It's obviously very different from who he was on Ed Sullivan. But I feel like he's still very much Pryor on that first record. If maybe I have heard it. Why would I be making that assessment if I hadn't? What did you know of Richard Pryor then as a kid before you heard this record?
So I knew Richard Pryor was, to me, in the 80s, was like the guy who, like, I knew him mostly in from silly comedy movies, like Brewster's Millions, Toy.
Yep.
Toy was probably the one that I knew he had recognized Richard Pryor the most. But it wasn't until, you listen to stuff more than once. And I think I revisited this again in my, maybe when I was 12 or 13. Mm-hmm. And, knowing, and then by that point, Harlem Nights had come out.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And knowing how integral Richard Pryor was to Eddie Murphy's career, who was a favorite of mine growing up.
Yeah.
This is all right. So now you start to, my brain is developing the idea of, the mentorship aspect of comedy. And, and I was like, and then, so knowing that, listening and hearing, black people do this and white people do that. Mm-hmm. That's where all these comics got that from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and he still does it so well. He does it.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it, but his white people voices, I just realized, that's my voice. I was just like, oh shit. I'm like, it kind of sounds Kermit the Froggy. And I'm like, nope, never mind. No. So the wino character, the drunk, his general drunk character that does make several appearances on this record. Yeah. Speaking of the Eddie Murphy influence, I have to wonder if that has anything to do with the way Eddie Murphy characterizes his dad.
Yeah. That's a great. I would not be surprised, especially considering that Eddie Murphy is such a master mimic.
Yeah. Well, when he does that whole bit, just doing an impression of Richard Pryor but doing poop jokes is still one of my favorite things I've ever heard on a record.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this was but I would say that, I'm a huge horror fan. So this was, and because horror movies terrified me as a kid. So this was the first thing to kind of let air out of that fear. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of you can just talk Dracula down. Or The Exorcist isn't things that my family they would if a movie was scary that was kind of a hard line. Mm-hmm. That my parents were all right, I don't know if we can watch this with you, but I'd still hear my loud family, my uncles and brother and parents reacting, and Exorcist was one of those that I wasn't allowed to see. Okay. So hearing that bit, and I was like, okay. This is how you tackle horror, and it just made it more endearing.
I love so much. You don't often hear, because I had a billion thoughts going through this, especially when there's so much going on right now where satirists are questioning themselves and their own purpose, and can comedy change anything? But I mean, in small ways, in what you just actually, that's not small. Like, childhood fears are a fucking bitch to get over, and the idea that like you could listen to this comedy album and just his approach through a character even is enough to be like, oh shit, that's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Dracula wasn't scary after that anymore.
That's so good. I love that so much. What the hell is it? Wait, that's right. It's just entitled "Wino Dealing with Dracula."
Yeah, it's so great. It's so, and like the way he dresses, I really, that whole conversation. What you doing looking in them people's windows? and like you automatically have to imagine Dracula go, oh well, I was just like to this wino, What's your name, Dracula? What kind of name is that for a nigga? Well, it's Romanian. Like, you hear this whole conversation, but it's only on one end, and it's a brilliant performance.
He asks him what he did to his natural hair. Tells him
you got a messed up natural. And dirt all on your neck. Like, that is probably my favorite bit in this whole album, because it's so specific. It's like, Dracula sleeps in a coffin of soil. Like, it's for a horror nerd to hear, why you got dirt in the back of your neck? It's like, kudos, hat tip. Hat tip, Mr. Pryor.
What's the first, okay, this is a side question, but what's the first horror movie that you were then comfortable watching after this?
Oh, well, probably my favorite horror movie to this day. I would not be surprised if it's, I never even considered this. My favorite horror movie is Fright Night. I don't even know if you can see. I have a little Fright Night like memorabilia behind me.
Okay.
But it's a vampire movie, and it was another one that, like, there's a lot of comedy in it. Yeah. I remember when it first came out in like '85, I was like, I was like, no, this is too scary for me. And it was probably within that year that I saw it all the way through. Okay. And I was like, oh, I can handle this. And I would not be surprised if it was because of this album.
Wow. I love that. That's delightful. I don't know. It's rare when I can actually ask somebody, hey, did this album change your life? And they're like, clearly
it did. And I never, I wasn't even thinking that large. So yeah, wow. Jesus.
I also love, like, again, as you point out, there's a lot of the black people versus white people comedy that, again, he does better than anybody. And just a real quick tip to white comics: don't do that. That's not for you to do. I just love. It's just that's right. Okay, so there's the bit about. I need to pull this up. I wrote down a few notes, but just general household interactions that just the idea that him saying "pass the potatoes" is just why that whole bit shouldn't be funny, but it somehow is.
But it is. And I don't. I was listening to that. It's beyond his voice. And you hear, and like the reaction of that audience is like also a release. And I've thought, I think it's a release for the same reasons that Dracula's a release. Yeah. Not to compare white people to Dracula.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine if you do.
I'm gonna go there. But there's so much fear. When considering the Black experience, there's an immense amount of horror, unfortunately, the Black American experience. I have to highlight there's more joy and invention and Bugs Bunny wit with it, but there's also there's a huge amount of horror in this situation. And so what he is doing is, with that voice, giving permission to laugh at something that is terrifying. White men. Yeah. But beyond that, then there's also there's an honesty in the pass the potatoes. I think we're laughing at the we're laughing at what's behind that. We're laughing at, like, there's a theater there, in that he's highlighting the theater of a white household.
Yeah.
And it's funny to white people, because I think white people are also acknowledging, like, yeah, there's a theater there. Like, that when black people are at home, no matter how bad the situation can be, sometimes we're not even afforded the luxury of that theater for good and bad.
Yeah.
And so, when he's talking about Richard Pryor, he's talking about his dad, like, be home by 11 and bring a paper. He's done a few bits about his dad in the newspaper, but like, there's no theater there.
Right.
But in those interactions, and why they're funny is, like, he's highlighting the theater.
Yeah.
And he's releasing the fear. And that's my very nerdy analysis.
No, please. I mean, that's all I was thinking the whole time I'm listening to it. And, and you have to then wonder, I have to then wonder, why is it only cropping up in my head more and more as I listen to these records now? It's obvious why. But, so there's this element of, yes, an album can change your life, and we know that. We don't know that an album could necessarily change society, or at least there are parts of society that are not going to catch it in the same way, because it doesn't resonate, because apparently I have to be hit over the head with certain things.
Right.
But there's an element in everything. There are things that are just things that pass by you that are meant to be just part of the story, that, again, like you say, like, there's these little bits and pieces that are just part of his actual life. You know that. Even him just, even the bit about black people not being afraid of aliens. There's just something in every track. Oh, there we go. The back down. I was in every gang in Peoria, whichever one was winning. That's a funny joke. But he might have rolled with a gang. I don't know. He might have. He could have. That's a fucking part of his life.
Yeah. Well, it's Richard Pryor is, I think why we still talk about Richard Pryor is because Richard Pryor traveled in so many circles, so many vastly different circles of life and in his life. And so there's nothing inauthentic that he brings to the stage. So even when parroting the white person's voice, it's like, it's not inauthentic because Richard knows that person. He's evoking someone. And for these made up entities like the UFOs, the Exorcist, or Dracula, black people aren't afraid of those. Like, that's a whole run in the album. Like, yeah, black people will handle that different, because there's nothing more horrible than what we've gone through.
Yeah.
And so, and so you consider that. You consider, like, the horror that Richard Pryor knows. Consider the fact that, whatever he experienced, like, growing up in, a brothel.
Yeah, right.
He, like, from a very young age, like, the curtain was pulled down. And so that's what I'm now thinking about, like, the partial curtain that was still up for me listening to this.
Yeah.
Like, my parents were very honest at home. Like I said, didn't shield me from a lot, but it was a stable home. My dad had a stable job, and so did my mom. It was not a brothel.
Yeah.
So, like, I am a different type of performer because of that experience. I imagine coming up in the 50s and, not having that curtain, but then also having this need to perform, knowing you have the talent to do it. And then realizing, like, okay, I'm going to mold myself after Bill Cosby.
Right.
like to me, like that's every time I think about Richard Pryor, I always go there.
Yeah.
Because even in his later years, like the inflection of like that kind of pattern, like it's still kind of Cosby.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But he became his own comedian. But like how he was able to do that. Like you talked earlier about like he doesn't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
He also didn't have to change his act.
Right.
That's to me, that's why I think we still talk about Richard Pryor. He made a choice, and he's constantly making choices on stage, and he's constantly making choices of what to share and what to investigate. But he made a choice right at the beginning of like, oh, I'm gonna just there's no theater here. There wasn't theater for me growing up, so there's not going to be theater for y'all too. I'm just going to be honest. And it's the gift that keeps. It's the gift that keeps giving. It's the incredible just. So you can go into any joke and it's like a freestyle or a track in a rap album. We can just dissect it. Just like,
I know
this is incredible because he's being extremely honest and not giving us theater.
I should also point out then, now that you say a track in a rap album, that the Back Down was sampled in a Tupac track, which I didn't find out till today.
That is all right. Yeah, that's true.
Hearts of Men. It's loosely. It's not loosely. It's in there, but just woven into a beat. Which and it's the one about, again, being in every gang in Peoria.
Yeah,
it's whatever the fuck echoes the most for you. I love that there's something in there for anybody who might need it. And it's rare that we get to come across an album that actually distinctly means something in this way. You don't always get to talk about them that way.
Yeah. I also like it, the punches usually hit him.
Mm-hmm.
He's never really punching out.
Yeah.
Even the punches always either go back to him or the character he's embodying.
Right. Oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, so much about it. I was a young kid who couldn't get laid. I mean, that's so much of it. There's just, and I think also there's an element too where if you were listening to this out of context and had no sense of nuance, and you heard him saying the things he's saying, yeah, he's throwing out a lot of words that we might be uncomfortable with today, but half the time they're in character, though. A lot of them are in character, not always, but sometimes.
They're in character. They're in era. When he's talking about getting, in the 50s and like trying to, in his words, get laid. And he's talking about, he says, I remember he says the line like, girls were mean to us. And so I'm listening to it and like, 2020 progressive feminist side of my brain is like, now, Richard, that is, you are not owed sex of any kind, like consent and like all like, which is right. But it's also like, he's talking about being a teenager in the 1950s and being horny. And it's like, those are, and he's sharing those thoughts and like lifting the curtain. This isn't what he was saying in the car with the girl. This is what how he feels. He's like, my balls are going in my stomach. And so, it's fascinating. And again, and I can't not hear that and also hear the choice of like there's some stuff that I listen to from other comedians in the past, some whom I love very much to this day still, but I'm like, ooh, you are punching.
Yeah.
And like in that, like there's no venom there, it's just honesty.
Yeah.
So but yeah,
I'm wondering how many times I've now seen or heard this exact same bit and reality of maybe not maybe, the one that resonates the most, at least with people who don't have to live through it, which is a word I won't say, versus Police. It's the most frank, but it also gets so much cathartic laughter. The audience is not just understands it, but they're so fucking on board with getting to laugh about it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
having to yell, "I am reaching into my pocket for my license." And again, it's real. It's so painfully real.
It was like 40, how many years ago?
Yeah, right. 74. So I can't do math right now.
So it's like 45, 46 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm listening to that, and I stopped for a second because I was like,
yeah.
All right, this is weird. It's not weird. It's not weird at all, but it's like the term I've heard some people like, this person's like, in my family maybe like, oh, this person was a prophet, about, either slaying civil rights heroes or people from the past. But I'm not going to say that Richard Pryor is pathetic. I think it's not prophetic. I think the system is so pathetic that it's the same, like that laugh. You compare the laugh he gets in that joke from the first laugh he gets of like, I hope I'm funny.
Yeah.
And basically proceeds to start doing, he just starts controlling the room with some, with the combo of like I said, aggressive humor and self-deprecating humor, but still very much in control. And that laugh is like, I'm listening to those people laugh. I'm listening to that club. I don't know. Did you watch Dolomite Is My Name?
Oh, I love it so much.
I love that movie so much.
So fucking good.
Like that's what I'm picturing. Like this club in San Francisco in 1974, 75 is like.
Mm-hmm.
This is not, and like, so that energy, like I'm listening to people laugh. I'm like, those are people that got jobs. Mm-hmm. Those are people that are working. But there's a very clearly black audience.
Mm-hmm.
The MC, the host that brings out Richard is like sultry black woman with a voice. Like, I'm just like, it's like gravy. It's just like perfect. But like, this is like a club.
Yeah.
And those are people, I don't know, just like this was the 70s. They went out to a club. This is where they're feeling like we can go here and we can hear truth and laugh. And so every laugh was a release. But that laugh is like, yeah, thanks for saying that. But
yeah, right.
It's almost like I expect the audience to, listen. I stopped because I was like, I expect the audience to be like, yeah, it's still 1974 though.
Right.
Like,
what's crazy is I'm misremembering the laugh then. Am I not? I'm definitely like, that's felt so, maybe it felt cathartic to me.
Well, I mean,
guilt. Who knows?
We're hearing it from two different sets of ears.
Mm-hmm.
There's not to say there's no catharsis. And like, he's talking about something that nobody's talking about. Yeah. I'm also thinking about like, maybe this is me superimposing, but like that's a black house that still has to go out into that world.
Yeah.
And so, and I stopped because I'm like, I'm a black dude. I still got to go out into this world. It's cathartic, but it doesn't remove the terror.
Sure. Yeah.
It just highlights it, which is what he's great at. And like for that moment, it's blissful, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part when he gives you Dracula and flying saucers and then at some point gets to the real shit. Which he has to get to. Which
he has to get. I mean, and it's like the Dracula stuff that's all in the middle.
Yeah.
Like that's, like he talks about, I hope I'm funny and, and here's some curses and yeah, you better be funny and be in the audience. It's like, all right, this guy, he's, he's at least not scared. And then he gets into sex and then he gets into silly stuff and then it gets real.
Yeah.
Like that's his arc. Like that's brilliant.
I'm just honestly looking at the track listing right now. I'm like, fuck, this is it's so just by design so beautiful a story that gets told. Fuck.
Yeah. Like the wino character he starts off and fights. Starts off talk and then go for some fights and then he's talking to Dracula. Then it's a wino and a junkie.
Yeah.
And to like the police laugh. It's like, I don't know. Everyone knows at that point. Yeah, everyone knows somebody who's got an alcohol problem in that audience.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows someone who's got a drug problem. Everyone's had an encounter with the police. And he's like, that's not gonna stop. This was just a fun release. And that's how this album feels. This whole thing is about horror to me.
Yeah.
And just like, hey, the horror, it's real. It's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
But we can laugh at it. We can recognize it. We can face the monster. And the laugh is like a release, but it's also a, but the monster's still there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear.
No, that's. I mean, again, that's the legitimate analysis of it. I'm just interested in the fact that how I misheard it and maybe why. It's something I have to dig into. Like it's so weird to me. Also, so the Wino and Junkie track is the last track in the whole record. It's 7 fucking minutes of character work. Where you can't tell as stand-up, okay, so is he going to be talking about this wino? And then I think it does then at some point just turn into strictly the wino talking, singing to himself.
Yeah.
I remember when Jesus got killed, it was a Friday down by the depot. There's just so, and again, it's funny, but it's a laugh instead of cry character. That's what so much of this shit is.
Yeah. Richard was a brilliant actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying, like, taking the theater away.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that term. But Richard was an amazing actor. And basically leaves the stage not as Richard.
Right.
And that wino junkie piece, I don't know. Richard has an affection for those souls.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no punching. It's a familiarity.
Yeah.
And an affection and a love, and like these are, like the junkie, the one, like none of them, they're not stupid.
Right.
They're hurt.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a, I won't go into I won't do his routines, but it's, it reminds me of Relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And, I always feel like when I listen to Richard Pryor do those characters, I have more affection for the Relatives.
I can see that.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Than the reality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that your point? Is that what you're doing?
Right.
Because I didn't feel that way.
Sure.
And then I listened to this and I'm like, oh, right. I don't hate them.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a horror, like, and like they're harmless also. His versions are harmless. I will also.
Sure.
Like they're more inquisitive, curious, silly, opinionated, but it's not always the case in reality.
Is there a horror movie that best reflects what this record is trying to do that you can think of, if there is one that has the whole of this put into it?
Oof, that is an amazing question.
It might be a stupid question. I don't know. If you can't answer it, it might be a stupid question.
No, I feel like this movie is. What is the horror movie? Oof. I don't know. I'm gonna let that stew for a second. I mean, I had the movie that came to mind. I had two, were Candyman and Bamboozled.
Okay. Oh fuck. Okay.
And I don't know what Bamboozled is. It's a horror movie to me because it's weird and scary.
Uh-huh.
But like it's like, there's the parody in that movie goes so hard. Yeah. To really make you look. And that's what Richard does. Like when Richard hits that stage, like it's laughs, it's silly, it's cotton candy, but it's like, nah, but really look though. Look at what we're really like. There's not a wasted moment, a wasted breath. a wasted word in anything that he says. Like he threads things. Like I said, like he says a small thing about anti-war. He says a small thing about, having like an abusive dad. Like,
yeah.
But none of that is like by accident. And so I really think he's trying to get the audience to just look, and that's it.
Yeah.
And like, make up your own mind, but know that this is all here. We're here. And there's a beautiful kind of affirmation in just recognizing that you're here in a time, in a world that doesn't see you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think of like, Candyman, like is, people have to look at themselves in the mirror to invoke this horror.
Yeah.
This black horror, this remnant of slavery. And like, you don't want to remember it. You don't want to call it out because it's really bad once it manifests.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And like, don't let the moniker Candyman fool you. Mm-hmm. So I guess Candyman would be I just feel it's a little easy because it is tied to, certain aspects of Black history, but I tried to be a little slicker, but I couldn't. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. And I apologize if I'm also not super funny in this and like I'm getting very intellectually nerdy.
No. Please. You picked a record that here's the thing. A lot of the time when we discuss, I have a very strong difference of opinion when people come on and say, well, comedy's comedy as long as it's funny. I am a big fan of at least trying, if not trying to make a difference, at least trying to say something. And some people think that's pretentious as a performer or a writer or whatever. I strongly disagree.
Oh, great. Same. We're in the same team.
And, whether you make a difference or not, you should always be fucking speaking your voice. This is an album that does that. And you can't tell me that eventually when he goes to Africa, decides he's not going to use certain language anymore, when he changes who he is and he doesn't have to tell you about that. He could just go ahead and make more Richard Pryor jokes and not say the word.
Right. He could be just doing See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Gene Wilder and like collecting his checks.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Like there's a thing where I like to, when an artist has their bookend, unfortunately, like a Richard Pryor, we can see the beginning and the end. But there's always like a through line. And like for Mr. Pryor, I feel like, he was always just trying to be honest and tell us what was happening with him in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think why he's considered such the master that he is.
I can't think of a rich white comic who's ever successfully brought me on board for long enough for me to give a fuck. And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of comics. There's a lot of comics, and sure, plenty of them are white, but there's none of them who would make me care enough to listen in the way I listen to Richard Pryor. I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's not I had a interesting debate maybe a year ago at my gym, which should tell you enough. I had a debate at my gym. Should tell you enough about my life. But it was with a trainer, and like I was training. I'm not a stand-up. Mm-hmm. I've like done it once or twice. My training is in, I'm an actor, and then I trained and performed shit tons of improv and sketch, and over the years. So I have a huge amount of respect for stand-ups. Yeah. Somehow I ended up coaching a burgeoning stand-up who was a trainer at this gym that I went to. Mm-hmm. It was Anthony, like from Brooklyn, Italian, like very like we called him the Fonz because he was very who he is. Mm-hmm. Anthony Renda, shout out to you. But there was another trainer, a younger guy, who was like, I don't think Richard Pryor is funny. And it hit something, and I was like, okay, explain yourself. And he's just like, I just don't think he's funny. And I was like, well, you just can't say that.
No.
this isn't an opinion. This isn't up for an opinion. This is like saying, this is an academic certainty.
Yeah.
So tell me. And he was like, I'll listen to this stuff, and like, it's really hard. And like that one, and I was like, it's really hard to listen to. And I was like, I see. And to me, and then I wasn't mad anymore. It was just like, oh, if Richard were here, I mean, I have to in his place be his proxy, but I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone saying like, oh man, this coffee's the worst. Oh, why? It's pure. It's straight from the cocoa beans of the Amazon forest, and it's really strong. Oh, that's not the worst. You're only used to filtered theater.
Mm-hmm. With a lot of milk in it.
There's a lot of milk in it. And yeah, and like, so that if we can all just have a little bit of that, and I don't necessarily know if it's like a tied explicitly to blackness.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Richard's experience is.
Sure.
It's in his DNA, and the horror of that, but also the joy and the truth and the lack of theater. But I think like, Carlin is a comic to me who I really like.
Yeah.
Who, came up in a similar era, and Carlin made that similar choice of like, I'm not going to do this theater thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The suit and the tie and I'm going to grow my hair out, and I'm going to be this dude, and like, we'll do a whole set where he's just preaching to the audience, like his, progressive liberal, like, points of view.
Yeah.
But I'm cool with it because I'm like, all right, I'm on this journey to look at you,
Right. It's interesting that to get out your progressive liberal points of view, just comparing Carlin to Pryor in terms of approach and what they are allowed to say and not allowed to say. Ironically enough, when they're both dealing with censorship, Carlin maybe more openly and obviously, but Richard Pryor is a black man trying to speak, and there's still censorship there. So like the way they have to then approach saying some of the same shit, one having to like open obviously a bunch of white people's eyes, and then the other just reminding you, hey, yeah, this shit sucks, but try and be diligent in the funniest way possible. I don't know how he does it. I obviously can't relate, but I don't fucking get it.
Me neither. There's a clip somewhere that I watched not too long ago of Carlin and Pryor on The Tonight Show. And it's a little awkward.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's because, you're geared up for like, this is going to be great. And it's not. But I think it goes to what you're alluding to a little bit. It's like, I have the utmost respect and love for both comics, but there's a difference.
Yep.
And, watching this interview, I almost feel like, so like energy wise, I had the Richard Pryor show, his sketch show on NBC. Mm-hmm. And he, and Robin Williams was a writer on that, as was Alan Thicke.
Whoa. Okay. This I did not know.
I hope I'm not wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like Tim Reed was definitely Marsha Warfield, Robin Williams, wow, Paul Mooney, but
sure
Alan Thicke was involved somehow. I know that. I'm not making that up. But
wow,
there's a roast at the end of the video, and like you see Robin Williams and Pryor do these sketches, and they have a matching energy. Mm-hmm. They enjoy, and like. The energy of Carlin and Pryor is not matching energy.
So
at least it was that night. Wow. And like, this is in the 80s, early 80s, and it's like Carlin when he's not doing the ponytail, but when he had like, it's like Rufus from Bill and Ted Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
It was like at that time, like acceptable. Mm-hmm. And Pryor is still a little wild. And it's not a disdain for each other, but it's not a similar energy. And I'm just like, all right, yeah, this is a reality. And I don't know what the specific like differences are. Mm-hmm. I'd have to watch it again. But why, I just remember that impression of watching this interview. It's just like, oh, yeah, this seems like Carlin is more like, he's like, I know this Tonight Show format.
Sure.
And, I'm going to play nice here. And it feels like Pryor's like, I don't want to play nice.
Yeah. I mean, he can't have missed doing that kind of TV.
Right.
He said the words he said to for a reason.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah. That had to have been so fucking restrictive.
Yeah.
And it says a lot that, again, Carlin, who's a guy who's known for breaking all these boundaries, is like, no, I'm still fine here. I'm okay.
Right. And so that was the thing that like struck me. It was just like, and I love Carlin, but Carlin is also, a white man. And so,
yeah.
But Pryor, it was just like that discomfort of like, I can't. Yeah, I still don't know if they're going to kick me out of the pool. Mm-hmm. That was the sense that I got.
That is, I can imagine that being tense. I'm gonna have to look that up, and I'm also gonna have to find out what sketches Alan Thicke wrote for Richard Pryor, because that's hurting my brain so hard.
I really hope I'm not I really hope I'm not lying to you. But Alan Thicke. I gotta look up.
I'm trying to find it too. I'm trying to find what was it just the Richard Pryor show, right? Was
Richard Pryor? Yeah. On NBC.
Oh my God! I'm just looking at just the cast members. Why have I not seen this? Holy shit!
It's there's some sketches that it's we talk about that. Yeah, he was I'm pretty sure. All right, but yeah, it's we talk about that through line in the history. It was given like one season, if that.
Okay.
And it was pulled off the air because it was too risque, apparently.
Wow.
Sketches were too risque. But it was, and this was like, maybe a few years, 2 years after SNL debuted. And so like, this is, I'm trying to be careful because I also work for the network, but yeah, like, NBC was like, yeah, we're into that young hip comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Richard Pryor, he has a sketch where, it's the black president.
Mm-hmm.
And like it evokes, watching it now evokes Living Color, the Chappelle Show.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing what they were able to get away with years down the line.
Sure, yeah.
And what he was trying to get away with and didn't ultimately. Yeah. It's recommended viewing. I recommend that any comedy lover watch that show. And if you can, get the DVD so you can watch the specials.
Yeah.
And there's a Paul Mooney doing improv with the cast. Like,
holy shit.
It's wild.
Oh my God.
It's wild.
Alan Thicke absolutely wrote for this show. Do not doubt yourself ever again. Alan Thicke absolutely
fantastic.
Wrote
yes, he did.
Shit. Wow.
Like, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, the 70s.
This cast is ridiculous, though.
Yeah, it's all heavy hitters. Who else was in that cast?
Edie McClurg's on there.
Yeah.
It's also now reminding me I have to get back to Marsha Warfield because I want to have her on my podcast.
Oh, greatest.
God, holy shit! This is just massive. This is just wow. I feel like an ass. All right, well now I'm gonna buy this show. Holy crap. Okay, so normally I ask people to say, hey, why listen to this album if you're not that familiar to Richard Pryor? I feel like we've made the case. We talk about the album more than normal on somebody's first episode. But I don't know. Do you want to try and give people a 2-sentence summary why you should listen to this record?
Sure. I mean, Dracula talking to a wino. Why? Like, just that. Dracula talking to someone who's drunk on the street, like that should be enough. Like, to me, that is still my favorite. It's still my favorite bit in the whole album. That is gold.
Yeah.
But it's unfiltered Pryor, being very honest with an intimate house.
Yeah.
In his prime.
Yeah. It's so good. I will say there are probably a million other questions I had for you, but I feel like, again, We've talked about an important album, and it's I not to insult other records. Well, I'll insult a few of them because sometimes they're shit, and people know that they're shit, and they bring on a shit album to talk about. But it's an important album, and it's nice to talk about these. It doesn't always happen, and I just feel like I should remind people it's okay to do good things with comedy. It's okay to have good intentions, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And choose your words carefully, and be a smart person, an intelligent person in comedy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
It escapes people. It really escapes people sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on a soapbox, but I won't. Okay, so this episode is going to come out next week. I would like you to tell people where they can find you, where they can see. We didn't even talk about this show, so please tell people everything about you.
Yeah. You can find me Fridays on Peacock. I have the incredible privilege to announce to the world Amber Ruffin every Friday on the Amber Ruffin Show. She's my sister, and she's an amazing comedian performer.
Yeah.
First Black woman on late night television.
Come on.
She's also just a pioneer. But yeah, I have the privilege of announcing her and doing sketches with her and singing with her, and it's a great time. I'm also a member and performer and teacher of Freestyle of Supreme. We were on Broadway, and now I just got nominated for an Emmy.
Holy shit.
For the documentary We All Love Freestyle Love Supreme, which I'm not in, but shout out to that group. So those are like two of my jobs, and then I have my socials. You can follow me at Tarik R. Davis on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm out here. I make stuff. I'm a horror fan. I'm a movie fan.
What are your thoughts on the upcoming Candyman remake?
It looks intriguing. Okay. Yaha seems to be, on a roll. The director of that movie looks to have done an amazing job. I'm forgetting her name at the moment. I'm really excited by new stuff, though.
Sure.
Not to disparage the remake. I'm going to watch it. It's going to get my money. But yeah, I really ooh, this is something new. Okay, what is that? But yeah, go watch Candyman.
What about something in recent memory? And not even to stick to horror. I don't even care about horror, but I'm interested in what you like. What's a horror movie in recent memory that is definitely worth watching?
Horror movie in recent memory that's definitely worth watching. It's a good question. I was just talking. I watched so many old movies, but now I'm basing on a horror movie that was made recently. I did like. Now I'm blanking on it. I did like Hereditary. I know some people didn't. Because again, it gets to white people are scary as fuck. It hit me on that level. I was just I don't this is a whole town of people that are all in this shit. No, of course you are, but no, I'm out of here. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of great, not movies so much, but there's some great stuff on television or streaming where I see people are really pushing some boundaries and doing some cool stuff. There was a horror anthology series on Hulu recently, and I'm blanking on the name, but it was really good. That had a few episodes that were horror and revolved around the Black experience and Black people, and it will hit me in a moment, but I can't remember the name.
I'll look it up. If either of us remembers, we can let the other know, and I'll add it in here.
But I also wrote a horror play for Zoom that did pretty well, and we're going to try to mount it again.
Amazing. Okay.
Trying to put new stuff out there. But yeah, I like horror because it doesn't let you be comfortable. You can't even a horror comedy. It's there's still going to be a jump scare in there somewhere. And you can't really, it keeps you on your toes. And the good stuff is, is really good, and the bad stuff, unfortunately, is really bad.
Yeah, sure.
It feels like somebody, you're looking at somebody's, fetish, and not to
Sure.
kink shame, but like, there's got to be consent there.
Right. Right.
I don't want to watch this movie and like, oh, this is what you're into. Okay.
Right.
I don't want to. I didn't ask for this. I wanted a good story.
I had to write a horror movie once, and the thing that was assigned to me was like, I was like, how do we get this person from point A to point B? And the woman who was my boss, well, my supervisor, basically, I didn't get paid to write it, but whatever. She'll said the thing that she had me do was the thing I would never write to happen to a woman in a horror movie. And she's like, no, I still think that's how it should go. And I'm like, okay, I wrote it. And then, felt so uncomfortable having written it. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess that's the movie I just fucking wrote because I was asked to. But then it's like, then your name is on it if it ever gets made. It never got made.
Right.
And
that's
it won't.
Why having a moniker handy. It was the show was Monsterland, by the way.
Monsterland. Okay. Awesome. I'll check that out.
But it can be, I wrote a horror movie that I made a short film out of and we won an award.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of the horror movie was, it's called Victim Number One, and it was about the black guy that dies first in horror movies. So I tried to take a stand-up joke that I had been hearing for years, and a lot of black comedians will go on like, why the black guy die first? Like, that's my black stereotypical comedian voice. And but like it's based in this real kind of trope. And like I said, I'm an actor, and then years ago, the story's gonna get dark. I had a horrible experience, where like in Richard Pryor's stand-up routine, I too had a near-death experience due to a police officer.
Oof.
And drew a gun on me, and then and not in a very short span of time, I got asked. This is when I was really broke, a struggling actor, as opposed to just being broke now. Then I got asked to audition for film, and it was a horror film, and the role was of a character of color who does not survive the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also, I just read it and I walked out. I was like, this is the most offensive drivel, and I was still kind of shaken from my personal experience, and I couldn't remove this notion. I kept hearing wasn't a specific comedian. It was the amalgam of all those jokes of why can't the black guy die? And why does a black guy always gotta die? And I was like, yeah, but both in life and in fantasy?
Right.
And so I wrote a horror film kind of confronting that and so the premise was, what if that was one actor who's just has that horrible career of just no matter what movie they're in, they're cast as a black guy that dies first. And then they're really embarrassed by it and just don't want to do it. They're like a meme.
Mm-hmm.
And they do one last film, convinced to do one last film, and then a horror situation really breaks out, and people really start to die. However, this black actor's been killed so many times, he knows all the tropes and knows how to stay out of every single trap. So that was my you're talking about how Richard Pryor, how his album changed my life. There's an award that I got for best screenplay for that short film that we were working on for a decade. And just through that, I met people. I have relationships that are family. Mm-hmm. Career shifts due to that. And so, I'm it's hitting me now oh, wow. My whole career has kind of been that Wino versus Dracula. I have been pursuing that dragon since I was 5 years old, and now it's only dawning on me. I'm wow, I've been trying to really get the whole world would be like, no, but this 2 minutes though. You got to understand.
Oh man, it's just amazing how much that resonates. I mean, Get Out was based off not based off an Eddie Murphy joke, but from a punchline from an Eddie Murphy joke. I mean, it's at least named after it. You know, it means something, man. Holy fuck, I love that.
Like, and that, and those jokes stand the test of time. It's as will, I'm sure, that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm constantly intrigued by. I think good comedians also don't let you relax.
Yeah. And
good comedy doesn't let you off the hook. It can make you breathe easier. It can enlighten you. It can comfort you in some ways. But like, it can't truly ever banish whatever dragons we all got to face when we go back to our lives. It can only make them a little bit more bearable. And I feel like, Richard Pryor in that respect to me is like, he's almost like a knight or something like that. It's
right.
Like he's a shining knight, and he's so reflective. Like, look at me. This is all I can do, everybody, but look. And like sometimes it's enough.
Man, holy shit. This has been one of my favorite episodes of all time. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a blast.
Can we see your short film anywhere? Is that available anywhere to watch?
Yes, it is. I can send you the link, but it's called Page One. And if you go to Jamtown Films, my co-writer and director of that short, you can find that on his YouTube page, Page One, and it's called Page One.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, again, I'm going to thank you. You're welcome back anytime. Please and thank you.
Oh, thank you. This has been such a pleasure. I've had, I love to nerd out, and you're a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. So same here, man. Everybody, please watch the Amber Ruffin Show. Can I just tell you, please watch. It's just the fucking best. It's so good. It's so damn good. Well, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn. Ah!